Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the vlog. So today is the first day of our teardown of the Golf GTE, and in today's episode we're hoping to achieve the following. We want to get the car on all four wheels, so that means that we need to sort out the front and the rear wishbones. They need to be replaced, both of them. We need to sort out the sway bar, that needs to be replaced because it's broken. New drive shaft, all those things need to be sorted, and we need to get that wing off as well to have a look at that seal and see how bad it is. All of this we're going to try and achieve today, so let's get on and do it. Right, so we need to get this car started so we can see if it works, but before we do that we need to get the car rolling. So we need to sort out that lower swing arm, so that's what we're going to do this morning or today. We're also going to take off the wing so we can assess the damage underneath here to see if it's worse than what we can see visually, and then we'll get this wheel straight as well. Now a lot of you will be telling me, oh, you need to change the suspension, and we will be changing that, but at this stage we just want to get the car rolling. Okay, so we're going to change the swing arm because the swing arm's pushed back and the wheel's rubbing against there. So by changing the swing arm we're going to put it back to its natural lateral position, and then we can then get the car on all four wheels and then concentrate on the inside, which is to get the car running. Right, let's get on with it. So there's the old one off, and as you can see, pretty twisted up. Let me show you what a good one should look like. There you go. So you can see that one's slightly bent. Okay, let's see how this guy goes on. Okay, so we got it in, and the good news is that the subframe, we went straight in with no issues. I had to just grease it in to get it into the slot. That's why it's got that white grease on it, lithium grease, but it went straight in. And here, same again, straight in. What I did in the end was I jacked the gearbox up to get it off, and that allowed me to then just push the bolt in, and it went straight in. And the fact that it's gone straight in is good news, because it means the subframe is straight and that it hasn't been pushed. So I've done quite a few of these now where the arm has been pushed back, and these arms there, they are designed to take all the impact. So essentially that's exactly what it's done. It's done its job. It saved the subframe, which means we don't have to replace that. Okay, so now I just got to put the 3 bolts in to bolt this into this leg, and I do need to change this stabilizer bar. The sway bar, it's gone broken, so I'm gonna have to get a new one of those, but that's fine, we can do that. But the main thing is that the arm is straight, so that's good news. Next thing, let's get this wing off. Okay, so you saw me struggling there to get the suspension arm into the wishbone. The reason being is because the drive shaft has come out of its socket, so you can see that the clip is loose there. So we're going to need to change the CV joint, and I figured I'd need to do it anyway because it's leaking. So you can see the grease has come through. So yep, let's get that replaced. In the meantime, let's get this wing off, see if that's going to come off any easier. Hopefully it should do, but you know, these things are always sent to test us.
The next morning.
Okay, so we're back on the car again, and we're going to start off with the thing that I mentioned last week that ensures that this car will not start. So this here, this is a power disconnector for the car. Now what there is supposed to be in here is a little switch that you pull up, and it comes out here, and there's a little clip that goes in here, and what you do is you put a padlock, just the same as an electrician. If you're an electrician out there and you're working on the home electrical system, you can put a padlock on to ensure that nobody turns the vehicle on inadvertently. This has exactly the same thing, not the vehicle, I'm talking about your household electronics or electrics. This has exactly the same thing. So in the event that you're working on this system here, you would disconnect that, and that basically de-energizes the electrical system on the vehicle. You wait around 20 seconds for the system to discharge, and then it's safe to then take all these out and do what you need to do and take out the various units. This is missing. Without this, we will never get this car started. The trouble is getting the part number for this. It's nigh on impossible. I think I have the part number, so I'm going to my local VW dealer to get the actual bit. From what I understand, the piece that goes in here is pennies. It's about £1.38, but you need the right part number. So after some extensive research, I think I figured out what it is, but still not sure. So if you know what this is, or if you have a GTE and you've got this plug, please tell me what the part number is. That would be great. So why is this plug, or why is this taken out? Well, there's a couple of theories that I've got. Number one, it could be that when the car was in an accident, that the emergency services seeked advice and at the roadside and were told to disconnect this plug, so someone pulled it out and didn't replace it inadvertently. It could also be that when the car went for assessment, that the assessor took this out because they were told to do so by VW, because this is an essential part of making the vehicle safe. Or the third guess is that when this vehicle went through the auctions, that someone inadvertently took it out to make the car look like it was more damaged than what it is. There's my three theories. Which one of those are correct, I haven't a clue, but that could be the reason why it's missing, because there's no reason for it not to be there. But anyway, we have to get this to get the car rolling. Right, moving on. If you remember, when we just a moment ago we were taking this off, but I'm going to take the drive shaft off. What I've done is I have loosened off the end screw that secures the drive shaft to this suspension arm. So what we're going to do is get this out, and then we'll be able to replace the drive shaft, the damaged drive shaft. I could possibly repair this, but I tend to find that drive shafts, once they start giving trouble, no point trying to fix them, just replace them. It's cheap enough to do so. And this is a familiar part. This part here is commonly used throughout the Mark 7 and other VW Audi models, so I'm just going to replace it. Right, let's get it off first. There you go, drive shaft is out. You can see that it's gone. Basically, once this knuckle comes out in here, the ball bearings separate from inside, and once that happens, there's no point trying to repair it because it's been compromised. So this unit, I'm not sure is serviceable. In fact, pretty sure it's not, but I'm going to check, and if it isn't, then I'm happy to get another one and I can get this pretty quickly. Right, let's now turn our attention to the wing. So we're going to take the wing off so we can inspect what's going on down here, because that's quite important. That's to find out how severely damaged this section is. So, some good news. No damage, absolutely fine. We can see that this has not been pushed in. The only damage is on this sill here, which has been obviously crushed in like that. So we need to just get that repaired. Good, okay. And these are the bolts that I was talking about in last week's video. These have been, I think that these have been compromised and pulled forward slightly. And that's the reason why the door is not sitting right. So we can take these off and then take the door off and see how we get on. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking the issue is here. But great news that this has not been damaged and it's just a sill, so we just need to get that sill rebuilt. Right, so what I'm going to try and do now, I'm going to loosen the front bolts and just have a go at pulling the door forward, see if we can improve that gap there, or non-existent gap. See if my theory is correct. Let's try that. Right, so some bad news and then there's some good news. Let's start off with the bad news first. So loosening these there is no play in this, so these don't move forward. I did try to hammer it, as you probably saw, nothing happened. However, the good news, the seam here has been torn. You can just see the paint flicking there, and what it's done is pulled forward. So the door has been pulled, but not on the hinge. The hinges hold true, but actually here it's actually wrenched forward. That's the reason why we have a gap here, because this has been wrenched, pulled. And I can't quite see here because it's all down here is crushed, but I'm assuming the same has happened here. So I think that's the reason why the door is pulled back. So when we put the new door on, it should sit fine. So that's good to see, and we don't have to worry about hammering that or sorting that out now. We just need to get the door off and replace it with a new one. Okay, so next on my list of jobs to do, this swing arm here, lower swing arm from the rear, is bent. Pretty sure it's bent in here. That's why the wheel is pushed in from this side here. So what we're going to do, we're going to undo those mounts, drop it, and then we'll compare it with a new one that I've purchased. So let's do that. Right, so we're fitting the lower wishbone, and fitting this is exactly the reversal of taking it off. Hopefully it'll be a little bit easier, but we've done the bolt at the back. As you can see, that's in place. That's not tight, it's just loose. We'll now put the spring in and then put the rest back in play. Right, lower swing arm is now back on and fitted. Fortunately, it was easier to get on than it was to get off, and that looks much straighter, so I'm happy with that. We are going to put the old wheel on for now, but yeah, she is back. Good, let's go back to the front, and I have just had a delivery of a new drive shaft, so it's going to fit that. Right, so here we are at the front, and we've got a new drive shaft now, so we're going to fit that in there now, and we're going to sort out the drop link, because that is also broken. You can see it here. Yep. So let's get that repaired, then we can fit a temporary front wheel, or maybe the permanent front wheel, certainly one better than the one that's dented, and get the car rolling, and then that should end it for today. Okay, so suspension arm completed. We just got to get the drop link, and as you can see, the rear wheel is on, and it no longer is bending in due to us replacing that wishbone. So we'll get the drop link, and I'm going to put one of my new wheels on here because I haven't got another spare wheel, so we'll put that on. Actually, we'll see what it looks like on the car as well, because if it looks good, we'll keep them on here, and then we'll get this on 4 wheels for the first time. Right, so new drop link or tow bar or whatever you want to call it, sway bar. Let's fit that onto the car, and then we can get the car on 4 wheels. Now I am going to fit one of my 19-inch wheels, so don't judge me. We need to get it rolling, so let's get on and do that. Drop link in and secured. Last thing, wheel. And there we go, the car is finally, for the first time, on all four wheels on the deck. That wheel, it's quite proud, isn't it? I mean, yeah, there's no wing here, but I think it's going to be a little bit like the S3. Let me show you what I mean. So these wheels, they sit right on the edge. There's no spaces on these wheels, and they're right on the very edge of the wheel, as you can see. And I think this car is going to be very similar with these wheels. But what do you think of the wheels? Let me know in the comments below. These were going on the TT. I'm debating now whether they go on this car or whether they go on the S3. You let me know by your comments. Anyway, the car is now on the deck and I'm really happy. So this will end this week's video. Next week's video, we're going to get this car started. At least that's what we're going to try and do. Okay, so we've dealt with everything that we were planning to do. So we got the car on all four wheels, both wishbones have been replaced and wings off, and so the car is now ready for the next stage, which is to get it started. So we need to figure out what the part that we need to fit into the plug to get the car started, because the goal for next week is to get the car running, both the petrol engine and the electric hybrid engine as well. So we've got to get that started. So before we close, let me deal with the elephant in the room, because I know some of you have been thinking already, why did I not change the near side suspension arm? Because that took quite a big hit. This is very true, it did take a big hit. But when I had a closer inspection of that part, it was absolutely fine. It hadn't bent and buckled. Nevertheless, it has been in an impact. But I plan to change the whole shock absorber system on the car with coilovers, and that's coming very soon, and that's the reason why I haven't changed that shock. Okay, so don't worry, we are going to change it. We're going to change it to coilovers, and that's the reason why we fitted that in. So as long as it's safe to run the vehicle, and it is, because I've inspected the shock and it's absolutely fine, we get it through the MOT, then we'll change it over with some coilovers. Okay, good. Right, so next week, like I said, it's going to be a good one, because we need to get the car running, and already I have run into some issues, and it's not to do with the car itself, but to do with dealerships. Stay tuned for next week. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe down here, click on the bell notification so you are notified when we release a new video, because you do not want to miss this series of videos. It should be good next week. So enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Okay, so we've dealt with everything that we were planning to do. So we got the car on all four wheels, both wishbones have been replaced and wings off, and so the car is now ready for the next stage, which is to get it started. So we need to figure out what the part that we need to fit into the plug to get the car started, because the goal for next week is to get the car running, both the petrol engine and the electric hybrid engine as well. So we've got to get that started. So before we close, let me deal with the elephant in the room, because I know some of you have been thinking already, why did I not change the near side suspension arm? Because that took quite a big hit. This is very true, it did take a big hit. But when I had a closer inspection of that part, it was absolutely fine. It hadn't bent and buckled. Nevertheless, it has been in an impact. But I plan to change the whole shock absorber system on the car with coilovers, and that's coming very soon, and that's the reason why I haven't changed that shock. Okay, so don't worry, we are going to change it. We're going to change it to coilovers, and that's the reason why we fitted that in. So as long as it's safe to run the vehicle, and it is, because I've inspected the shock and it's absolutely fine, we get it through the MOT, then we'll change it over with some coilovers. Okay, good. Right, so next week, like I said, it's going to be a good one, because we need to get the car running, and already I have run into some issues, and it's not to do with the car itself, but to do with dealerships. Stay tuned for next week. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe down here. Click on the bell notification so you are notified when we release a new video, because you do not want to miss this series of videos. Should be good next week. So enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week.